All right, Jason, we're back for part 2 of essentially responsibility and markets here. In fact, that's if I'm going to give it a name. After leaving off about inner engineering of a human being and looking at that data from the outside to enhance our world, where does that leave us now in a macroeconomic sense?
Macroeconomic sense. Here you go. Are you ready? I'm going to drop a bomb.
Yeah, do it.
Your government is a Ponzi scheme.
Of course it's a Ponzi scheme. Should we define Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, we're going to find Ponzi scheme, but I want people to understand your government, whether you're in Russia, Australia, the UK, Canada, United States, Brazil, it does not matter. Your government is a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. So, hold on. I'm just burning incense over here. You guys want to know what a Ponzi scheme is? A Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors. So, let's think about this. Debt.
This is so great.
What do you think your central bank does? They print so that they can...
And everyone's doing it.
And everyone's doing it. And it loads more debt onto the balance sheet so that the people before who needed to get those funds can get paid off, and then that debt gets transferred over to the general public for the general public to eat for the next 50 to 100 years.
Yeah, and it's also a Ponzi scheme in the sense, if we stay more macro, is that it's agreed value. We're all agreeing that the value is this.
Yeah.
You know, so because the people could easily, I mean, it happens all the time. There's probably a government getting overthrown as we speak.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, it's evolving. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And when I say overthrow, it doesn't have to be violent.
No.
Just mean like, yeah, we're not going to do it like that anymore.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So when we look at government, and you just talked about debt, what they're playing around with is the money.
Right.
And so the money is actually a useful fiction. It's not real. Like in the United States, all of you want US dollars.
Everybody wants it.
But it's just a piece of paper with dead presidents on it.
And it literally said Federal Reserve note.
Yeah. It's just a piece of paper.
It's no longer like actual like a certificate to like trade it back in for gold or something else.
Yeah.
It's a note. It's debt.
Mm-hmm.
We're just we're throwing debt around.
Debt.
You work so someone else can print more and make your work worth less.
Yeah, it's just a receipt of our debt.
So wait a minute. So the more people that join in earning this debt,
yes,
and then they have to pay back into it, the people issuing it continually get more funds. So the more people that operate within this system, the honchos at the top get more to cash.
Well, it's a false sense of scarcity.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, of course it is. Because if you engineer scarcity, then you have full control over what the perceived value is.
Oh, so we have no free will. Thus, we have people that are just playing around irresponsibly, and they've given all their control and responsibility over to the Ponzi scheme. Yeah,
so they do. People attach their lives and identities to the Ponzi scheme itself.
And the government's not going to recognize your limitless nature.
No, a government is designed to set limitations. Is it not? So why would they recognize
by force?
Why would they recognize the power of your own free will and your own responsibility?
But there is one thing that the government, no matter how they try to regulate it, but you can't regulate it completely, and that's trade.
Yeah,
trade allows us to increase our productivity. Period.
Well, I think we got to boil that down, my friend. What is it about trade that they can't regulate? Is it it's adapting? It's coming from all different areas. Why? Because people are thinking about new ways.
Yes.
To change the trade, to make it to their advantage. So that means they can't regulate human thought.
No.
Which is the hardest thing to even like put your hands around. I think that's what it comes down to. Does it? Am I wrong? Am I off base?
No, I think it is. I mean, we always trade is barter. I mean, barter system, whatever you want to call it. You can have lots of different names. But many of you that are out there that are listening go to a market and you may trade some apples for
a goat.
Or whatever, or you may even make a promissory note and say, hey, I trust you, you trust me. I need this goat right now. Over the next 3 months, I'll give you coconuts.
Right.
You don't...
Hoping to trust that this person
will deliver on the coconut.
What you said.
But that's a note on that person stating that's why everybody loves the US dollar, because the Federal Reserve is revered as... It's
a note on perceived trust.
Yes.
So your track record of doing well and being trustworthy should keep that value where it is, right? Well, what happens when you screw up many, many times and you still tell people to trust it?
Well, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. I was teeing you up for it.
Where the Tartle marketplace eliminates that part. The Tartle is not coming and making a note on. It's not making a note on your data. We have a buyer and a seller, and that's it.
We specifically said when this was originally engineered, no credit will be instilled in the system. So if you want to get something, you have to pay for it right now.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'll pay someone in the future for the work they've done. No, they need to be compensated for that work at this moment. And that data needs to be paid for right this second. If you want it now, you got to pay for it now.
Well, I think Tartle understands the limitless nature of each and every single one of us. And if we view this as evolving limitless, full abundance, not opposite of scarcity.
No scarcity.
Then as we're creating more data, as you're online, being more creative, making music, making art, doing the things that you're passionate about, whatever that may be, being a photographer, Tartle embraces all of that. And it wants you to get rewarded for your creativity. It wants you to get rewarded for
being a good human being.
Yeah, for being a good human being. And so that whole concept of Tartle's marketplace, the more abundant it is, the more it flourishes.
Yeah, and actually, the more participation,
yes,
the more truth, the more sharing that occurs, the more abundance everyone gains, and the faster we evolve. It's a really interesting concept of unity. Wow, unity works. My goodness. This is why you can't...
That's the unseen principles we're talking about right now.
Yeah, if we put like these metaphysical borders up on people to prevent them from using the system, we're essentially sapping the evolution of everybody because we're all inextricably interlinked. Do you feel me on that?
No, and this is exactly what, when we look at the Western world...
Tell me about the
West.
And
we look at it, human experience. This is what we're talking about, our human experience. We were taught to focus only on intelligence. The tests that we take online, everything is based off of intelligence.
Yeah.
These unseen principles, you're not graded on how unifying you are.
No, which would honestly, if someone was super unifying, that tells me they have a high level of intelligence because they understand cause and effect.
Yes.
I'm not that intelligent. I'm learning every day. I recognize that I know so much about so little.
But I mean, we talked about last episode, we talked a lot about yoga, and I encourage people. So after you do yoga and you have this euphoric feeling and you feel great and your body's amazing, that's that kind of that dimension beyond what we can see.
Yeah.
Our intelligence doesn't really understand that, but you dive into that and say, why am I feeling this way? Why is this great? And then you have this huge amount of self-awareness over that.
Right.
That's not rewarded in the Western world.
No, it's not.
But that's...
It's rewarded everywhere else.
But you see what I'm saying? So, no, but what is human experience?
Come on.
Do you know what I mean? It's more than just intelligence.
Human experience is not all just trying to say, I know everything. You can know everything. You can read every book under the sun. But until you actually put that knowledge to work to create experience, you lack wisdom.
Right.
And real human experience is wisdom. It's applied knowledge at the right time in the right place and learning from that. It redefines all of this growth and all these things that are happening. And that says my human experience is derived from the amount of wisdom I have gained to enter engineer myself with all this data that's come in over the entire course of my life. I had a thought last night before going to bed.
Which thought? The angry thought? Or
No, before the angry thought. Before the angry thought occurred. I said, what would it be like for me if I was reading my own obituary? Just chew on this for a second. I'm thinking, like, if I were to read about my life, then I was thinking, like, what would I want it to say?
Right.
What would I want people to remember me by? Not in a sense of ego, but like actual impact that was left, for better or worse.
For better or worse, yes.
And I thought, wow, that really changes how I'd want to make my decisions right now. And so, just outside of that tool, all your choices, all this data leads to one final place. And that's all of our finalities. We all end up dying. And I just want to know that if all the cause and effect and the data I've generated up to that point, I'd want all those probabilities to be great things that I leave the world with. And I was really thinking about my obituary, like, and the more I thought about it, I'd want it to be as short as possible. And it'd be super cool if it just said Alexander McCaig dies at, 120 years of age, human being. I thought about that. Not, I've owned this much or did this much or, saved this much or helped and gave back to this or I was a philanthropist. None of those things.
Right.
What I realized is like the real value is the experience of being the human being, the absolute best possible human being. And I thought the best obituary for me would be the absolute shortest one.
You used the word probability. And I saw this math formula a while back about the improbability of your existence.
Mm-hmm. It's highly improbable that it exists.
So by being born, you're defying all the odds.
Yeah, even just surviving birth, you're defying odds.
Yeah, surviving birth. So
not to mention the fact that two other people had to come together, no pun intended, and then generate, procreate.
Yes.
And then through a gestational period, nothing happened to upset that. Then the baby was born. The baby was born healthy enough for you to exist and then come up to this point where you are now. And by the way, where you're sitting in your seat, you've made enough choices where you haven't died. It's pretty incredible that you actually exist at this moment.
Yes.
If you think about it.
And that's something that we have as human beings. You said human beings. As human beings, we have something that's so different. We talked about the grizzly bear before. Mm-hmm. The grizzly bear doesn't know it's a bear.
No.
We know we're humans. We have this thing. This is intangible more than intelligence. We have this thing, and this is scientifically proven. It exists. Consciousness.
Yeah, and our consciousness allows us to recognize ourselves as an entity when we look in a mirror.
We can realize that I'm sitting in this chair and I am here.
Yeah, you're actually floating in the chair if you talk to a physicist.
Yes.
But yes, that's correct. Sitting in that chair and you are here.
And so then it begins to say, okay, I am here. I exist. I went against all odds. I'm alive. I'm well. Some of you are healthy. Some of you may be a little unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Some of you are making bad choices in your life.
But you're alive.
Create unhealthy, but you're alive.
So you're going to waste those odds? Which is an interesting question. How much do you value those incredible odds of where you are? Gosh, man, you gotta really take a hard look at where you came from and how you got to where you are. Mm-hmm. It takes time. Oh, and for a lot of people, it's quite painful to look at that. And others, it's quite easy to say where they've gotten. But taking that look builds a level of self-awareness that is so fundamentally important for all of our decisions going forward. So we don't fall into Ponzi schemes. Not even Ponzi schemes with our emotions and other groups.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where we give up our emotions and then more people have to pay into this thing so that whoever the guru is leading it can get all the gain.
Well, it's a Ponzi scheme. I mean, Facebook just came out a couple of weeks ago saying that the 20 top Christian site Facebook groups, the top groups, were being farmed. 19 of the 20 were fake Christian groups. Everybody thinks they're real, but they were being farmed in like Uzbekistan and Russia and stuff like that. So you're getting played.
You're always getting played.
And I don't care if it was Christian or Hindu or whatever, it doesn't matter. But what I want people in this inner engineering, taking responsibility, understanding that you have consciousness, realizing that you are here. Now it is time, and this is where Tartle comes in. Now it is time to create a relationship where you can manifest.
I love that. And not just manifest in I'm going to manifest my destiny, right? Or, I'm going to make a bunch of money up here.
Yeah.
Right. The thing that you can manifest is choice. Mm-hmm. And you need to recognize that. You have control over what you can do. Mm-hmm. And what you can know for a fact is who you are. But we lack attention looking at that. We don't look at the data of who we really are. But when you recognize the power in that, that's when this greatness occurs that you're speaking about. That's when the materialization happens.
Well, I mean, we all look at Mother Teresa as being like this super compassionate, loving woman. And, she went to India and worked with orphanages, handicapped orphans, like what we would consider the outcasts, let's say, of the world or whatever people would say. Why does these children even exist? If you want it to be really creepy and mean.
Yeah.
And or we look at homeless situations or whatever. But it's like Tartle in the sense of manifesting and creating these relationships, because that's what it's about. It's creating relations, manifesting. And we know, and the world knows that there's one thing that everyone can experience, and that's love. And we've all experienced it.
Yeah.
And we have a consciousness. We have the ability to experience love. And I'm not getting woo-woo here, because I'm saying if we truly all decided to say, hey, it's about my brother, it's about my sister, it's about the neighbor next to me,
the stranger.
It's about the stranger, and I'm going to manifest love to them. I'm going to start creating, not only with inside of myself, but with others. And I have the ability to do this, and I have, because there's abundance through the marketplace at Tartle that you normally wouldn't have. So now you have 2 billion people that's decided to join up and be data champions and decide to create and manifest. And now 2 billion people say, hey, let's take on climate stability.
Yeah.
Now we've just turned back the clock. Years of what's going to happen.
Hey, we don't want this disease to happen anymore. Let's all put together our own biometrics towards this thing.
We've become limitless. The possibilities in this limited nature becomes limitless.
So I challenge those data champions and those people that aren't a part of the marketplace to come together and see what is actually possible, and really see if you have the muster to understand yourself, your family, your friends, and those who are strangers to you. Because in doing so, what we'll find is that we'll start to erase away problems and false perspectives that really didn't need to exist in the first place, because our data was skewed. And now when we have clarity and we have truth and we share in these things and we see the responsibility and we know what we have control over and we know we can work towards it. And it's not albeit that difficult to do the work. It's really low labor work. It does great things for human thought and human understanding, which is so needed at this very time.
Yes.
And when we can reframe those aspects of our lives, our societies, cultures, and governments, we can direct our focus, energy, time, and resources towards the things we need for our own survival as a complete race.
Yeah, I saw, and I'm not going to name the country, but I saw a video the other day where there was mass amounts of people in cages.
Okay.
And I began to look at Tartle, and I thought, Tartle could solve this. And I thought, no. It's a wrong approach. That's not true. That's not what Tartle is. I was like, people impose, we all put ourselves in a self-imposed cage. Tartle doesn't take the responsibility to open the cage for you, but it gives you the key.
Right.
The ability to be able to see that you have that power inside of you, but it's your responsibility to turn that key, to unlock the door, to open it, and to see.
You've locked yourself in the cage.
Yes.
So we're going to give you a tool so you can make the choice to unlock it yourself. But you got to take that step. You got to reach your hand through to the other side, outside of the cage where it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's not protected. You got to turn that key, and you have to open yourself up to a world of catalysts. You have to open yourself up in truth to these things that are occurring. You have to honestly speak about who you are. Transact in truth. That's what data champions do. And they realize there's great value that pays back to them and everybody else when we operate in that format.
It also forces, and this is an intangible part, this is that outside dimension that I want people to understand. It forces corporations to be ethical. Yeah. So you're so pissed off at ExxonMobil, or, and I'm not just calling them out, Google, whoever. We can name any corporation, Credit Suisse or whoever.
UBS.
Yeah, whoever. But whenever they're purchasing, they're doing the right thing by purchasing data through Tartle. So and you're creating that, because they wouldn't purchase the data through Tartle if it wasn't for you being honest.
That's all you got to do.
So you're holding corporations accountable.
Right.
By doing what you're doing. You don't realize the unlimited power that you have. These corporations they're limited liability.
That's what they are. They try to limit their liability.
Yes.
And if you can give them something to limit it even further, to allow them to operate in truth, operate with what society wants, they'll do that.
Yes.
They're not albeit horrible.
No.
They just lack proper direction. So help them with the tool and the power that you have as a collective and as an individual.
No matter who you are, in any country.
We all need to know how we all think. And we have to share in that. And the value of that will really help solve, and we can stop pointing fingers, but give people or resource holders the opportunity to make better, more well-defined, knowing choices rather than guessing and then waiting for something bad to occur or taking a path of least resistance when it's going to do the most amount of harm.
So everybody needs to sign up now. If you haven't signed up for Tartle, you have to.
You got to do it, and it's totally free. It's so fucking free. It's like, when they were drafting the original Constitution, it's that free. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to do whatever we want. It's like, it's so free. It's like oxygen. Like, sign up. It's designed to work on all your platforms, everything, totally low power. It's not going to suck up your bandwidth that you're working hard for. We're here to help. And so you got to now take the reins and make the choice for yourself.